Content warning. The Wards of the State podcast may contain material that may be harmful or traumatizing to some audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
Okay.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Wards of the State. If you are live on YouTube right now, thank you so much. For the listeners who are joining in with us via podcast, you guys can now watch us live on YouTube. If you're watching me on TikTok right now, go hit up my YouTube. You can see us and you can hear the whole conversation. I'm so excited that we are going to really start sharing more and more lived experience with you guys here from the Wards of the State podcast. We also are expanding the type of media. So you guys know for the first 4 years of this podcast, it's been only audio mostly. Sometimes you guys get some video clips, but now we are doing video because, I guess people are calling me old and they're like, Carlos, we want to see you guys. I'm like, no. But you know what? I have a program that makes it super easy. So I hope however you decide to consume this podcast, whether it be audio, video, YouTube, or Apple Podcast, Spotify, and iHeartRadio, make sure you are subscribing, liking, and sharing everywhere that you are watching this. Your support and your reviews really do make a huge difference when we're looking at sponsorships, as well as just having other people kind of take us serious and listening to the lived experience of everyone who comes on this show. So I want to thank all of my listeners, all my light shiners. Also, any updates? Book 2 is on its way to my door. Award of the State, Abort the Adoption. It has been a wonderful time. Not really, but it's been hard, y'all, the last 5 years writing this book, but it's finally here. I'm waiting for the publisher to send it to me. If you did pre-order, that pre-order will be out to you, like I said, by the end of January. And if y'all who've been waiting for literally like a year and a half on y'all's pre-order, thank you so much for your patience. And thank you so much for supporting me. So without further ado, I think those are all the announcements that I had. And I want to go into our next guest, MG, who is a former foster youth. Hey, MGD, how are you?
Good.
I am fantastic. So I want to tell people, introduce yourself, tell people who you are, and start with your experience in the foster care system.
Okay, so my name is MGD. I have been in foster care since I was a youth, actually a newborn. My mother was, on drugs, and she got custody of me back, me and my other sibling, and then we were, traumatized from like the child abuse that we went through. And then we were in and out of foster care. And then I entered foster care fully at the age of 13. It was a very hard experience for us, especially myself, because I had an identity crisis. I looked very different from my family, my maternal side. And was often told that the man on my birth certificate was my biological father.
Why does everybody do that?
No, this is really juicy.
Let's listen. I'm ready for it.
Yeah, so I've always felt that I was different from my family, of course, and then being told going through the foster care system that I was, Dominican or some form of Hispanic. They would just name any kind of ethnicity they thought I was because, of course, I look different from my maternal side. But most recently, actually 2024, my birthday, I found out that my father isn't my father through Ancestry DNA.
Did you just make a TikTok video about that?
I don't think I made a TikTok video.
Okay, maybe I'm confused because I was like, it sounds so similar to us. I just was scrolling on FYP and there was a Black woman who had a similar experience. Like it must have been it was so similar. I'll have to find it and send it to you because they were explaining they were in foster care and then they had a different father on the birth certificate and then they're like in their 30s now. And she was just like, well, I don't know if she was like upset that her parents were upset that she went and looked and like did a DNA test. So I was just like, is this the same person? But no, go ahead. Sorry. I have ADHD, so I'll be like trying to connect things.
This is my first time, actually talking about it out loud because.
Oh, okay. So we're getting the exclusive.
Yes, because.
The exclusive.
Yes, because this is actually raw and I wrote a book about it. And I'm getting ready to, publish it. But I've never talked about it. I don't show my face. I'm very nervous to do this. However, I feel like I got played and I want to tell everybody what's going on and hopefully educate other individuals that have experienced the things that I have. Not only am I a former youth that went through the foster care system, I'm also a child abuse survivor. So I was in foster care a lot because of my mother's addiction and also her abuse. So I'm not really going to get into too much details here about it, but I'm talking about the identity portion of it, going through different foster homes because of the way I look. And because my mother is African American, being put with like a foster home with the African American community and not being able to relate to it because I'm being judged because I look different. My experience with them as well was not feeling connected to them, or being treated differently because I'm not biologically related to them. So I did experience that. And for the rest of my time in foster care, I actually grew up in multiple group homes. So I only went to one foster home. And
how long were you at that foster home before you went to the
8
group
months,
home?
only 8 months, 8 months.
So not too long.
Not too long. And then the rest of my time, I was in like different group home lockdown facilities. You know, when you're a teen at that point, no one really wants someone who's fully grown, or teenage. I'm sorry, like, you know, teenager. You know, they usually want you at a younger age where they can kind of mold you. But it was pretty difficult for me because I had a lot of stuff going on inside me that I didn't understand. And on top of not understanding these things, it was the whole identity portion too. You know, I didn't fit well in the African American community because I didn't look 100% African American community. Then you have others trying to basically tell me what they think that I am because of what I look like. So I grew up like basically believing I was Guyanese. So I end up, you know, learning another language, which is a broken dialects, patois. Found out that's not even really Guyanese. I mean, it was just a whole bunch of drama that I went through. No one knew what to call me. So fast forward, I recently found out through Ancestry DNA that my father isn't my father. I took this test back in 2013 and it told me where my origins came from. I was like shocked because it said that it was Pakistani.
Wow.
Yeah, and very ignorant to not knowing what that was. You know, I've heard of India, but I've never heard of, you know, Pakistan. You know, I've always been told, oh, you're just a black girl with good hair. That's what I've been told, you know, by my mom. So I was like, what's that? But I just thought it might have been like a grandparent or some type of family, you know, DNA passed on through my father's side because he didn't know who his family was. He wasn't present in our life anyway. I ended up finding him when I was like 15. And then, you know, looking at him, I was like, this guy is clearly, you know, African American, and he didn't have the same texture hair as I do. So I was a little confused. So fast forward, you know, through the trials and tribulations of, you know, my identity, I end up finding out on my birthday through a match through a fifth cousin who was Pakistani, who said, you know, they would help me figure this out. Also, sorry if I jump all over the place
No,
because
you're fine. I'm keeping up. I'm keeping up.
What drew me to this final like revelation was the father on my birth certificate did not really know his family either. So I was trying to help him locate his family as well. And I had him take a DNA test and his came back on both sides African American, like the whole African DNA, like not even like a 2% Indian and 1% Indian, Pakistani, nothing. So my DNA came back 74% Pakistani. So I was just like, you know, and my mother is literally African American, like hers is straight African DNA. So I was like, it still didn't register in my head what was going on. Like I was like so like confused. And anyway, so with the matches, you know how Ancestry works, you match. And it just so happened that I had like maybe 5 people who had the shared DNA of the Pakistani DNA. And I had a message from a cousin. And I was just like, hey cousin, I'm so and so, we're cousins, do you know how we cousins? And then and then he explained to me that we were fifth cousins, and then, basically said that he would do his best to help me. So he ended up taking my results and sending it to myheritage.com. Again, I don't know how to do any of this, so, I don't know anything. So on my birthday, I got a birthday present. I had a match. He reached out to me and told me that I have a match with 2 sisters.
Okay.
One of the sisters I am aware of because that's my mother's daughter. So unfortunately, my mom is my mom.
And you grew up with you knew your sister, your mother's daughter, right?
No, I grew up actually with only one sibling. My mother has 6 children. I'm six of six. So sorry if I jumped to just focus on me.
Yeah,
But
no, I didn't even, okay, so explain your siblings a little bit, because now I'm confused. I'm like, how did you not know? Because, from a dad, it's easier,
yeah,
your dad would be going around having kids. But
yeah.
your mom, you didn't know your own siblings from your
I
mom?
did my mother. Okay, so I have 5 other siblings from my mother's side.
Mhm.
Only one of them I grew up with or partially grew up with. The other 4 were adopted before I was even thought about because of the same issue, drug usage and neglect and things of those nature. However, I ended up finding them when I was 18, because one of my siblings has a unique name, and I did hear stories, that one family adopted all 3 of my siblings, and then another family adopted one of my other siblings, and then the fifth sister, well, we'll say sister, that's above me, the one that I know of, went
Mhm.
to a foster home, but I know her because we were kind of raised in the same home partially, and then she went to the system first.
Gotcha.
So when I was a young girl, I always, used to sneak around my mother's room. And my mom was also like suffered a lot of mental health issues. So one minute she would tell the truth, the next minute she would lie. So one minute we had siblings, next minute we didn't. So, and I never, she would say that we had them, we didn't have them. So one day I was cleaning up the room, her room, and I came across an old popcorn can. And I opened it thinking it was popcorn, but it was actually like legal documents. And then in those documents were the birth certificates and names of my other
You're
siblings.
kidding. You're
No,
kidding.
I kept them. I wrote their names down in a journal and kept their birthday, social security numbers, birth names. And I just said, I'm going to search for them when I get older. And then when I turned 18, I end up finding through Facebook, actually. Shout out to Facebook. I actually I found all 3 of the sisters through Facebook because of a unique name. One of my biological sisters have a unique name. And I remember the story that one family adopted all 3. So I figured if I can find that one, then maybe that one could connect me to the other 2. And that did happen at the end. I did eventually get to meet 3 of those siblings. I still have not met my brother. He was adopted by another family, and I have never been able to find him. And I'm 32 now.
And how's your
Um,
relationship with your siblings that you did find? Are you still in contact with them to this current
I
day?
am in contact with them. We try our best to do the best we can. They've also suffered, their own traumas.
Mhm.
But we are doing great, reaching out. I actually just spent Thanksgiving with one sister and
I
then
love
Christmas with
that.
the other sister. And then we're planning to do the same thing. I want to do like a sister trip or something.
That would
I
be
tried,
fun.
thank you. I tried to send them gifts and stuff, do sister things 'cause I didn't grow up with one. Even though I
Mhm.
did kind of have one sibling in the home, it was a strong disconnect, because she also suffered a lot of mental health issues. So it was very difficult to have that sister relationship. And yeah, so the only 3 siblings I have contact with, and the other 2 I'm unable to.
Okay. Alrighty.
So
So
fast forward.
how long were you, so you were at home for a little bit, then you're in foster care for the 8 months, and then now we're in these group home type places.
Yes.
How long were there until you aged out of foster
Until I aged
care?
out. Yes.
So
Yes.
you were there
Yes.
until you're done. So
Yes.
what happens after foster care? Did you get any like extended foster care? Did you get any help? Like what was the
No,
situation after you aged out?
I actually was a teenage mom too. Boom, boomerang.
Now boom.
So I end up becoming a teenage mom. I was I think 17 when I had my twin boys. I had twins, so it was a very scary feeling. But I had them. Once you age out, you just age out. I will say towards the end of my time in foster care, I was very blessed and fortunate because I went to a mother infant program. It's no longer there now, but it was there at the time that I went. They did support me as far as watching the children while I went to work in school. I ended up leaving that mother infant program with like $20,000. So I
Mhm.
had my money saved up from working, and then foster care in New York did give me like 3,000 to transition me into my own apartment. So they did do that, and they also paid for college. I don't know if they did that for you, but they,
They were supposed to. My situation was a little bit more complicated because I was adopted, and
yeah,
then I moved from a state. Even though adoption, the free college was part of my adoption like agreement, you had to live in this, graduate high school in the state that you were adopted in, and then also go to college in the state that you're adopted in. And they had moved me from Michigan to Florida. But that's something that I still like advocate for when I tell people like, hey, this is why we support children. up until if they do need to age out. Because a lot of people say, well, I want to adopt 17-year-old. I'm just like, no, give them support, be a guardian of them so they can take advantage of the resources, right? Free college, as housing assistance,
Yes.
especially if they have a child. In a lot of states, like you said, they will cover your child under those resources as well, right?
While
And
you're in the foster care system.
while you're in there, so the state of Washington just extended their age out system, their extended foster care to 26. So you get all of the benefits for yourself and your children into the age of 26, which I think is phenomenal because most human beings need some sort of help from a family.
Well,
Or most kids who have like family, they get help from their family up to like 25, and then they're like, "Are you on your own?" And I feel like that's like a great age. Like that's you can finally get your own insurance, where it's like not out of the world, right? You can rent some cars, you know. I think
no,
like 26 is a good idea.
that did not happen for me at all. The only thing was that I worked to save my money. I was guided by the three women that ran the mother infant program. They were older
Mhm.
women moms, of course, and I appreciated them for that. But I was always working, and that was it. They helped me. I did have my case manager. Shout out to her. She was always good to me and kind of always like found loopholes and how to get me extra funding and stuff. I don't believe that I would have gotten the support towards the end of my time in foster care without those ladies. So we do need those strong advocates. And I grew up in the state of New York. So
Mm.
you can only imagine it's horrific. Yeah. So I didn't get help until I was 26. I wished.
Right. I think that we should change that policy.
Yeah.
So you were going, how did the program work? You shouted out your caseworker. So it sounds like you had some pretty successful people helping you along the way after you started aging out. How did that affect your parenting? You think that helped you become a better parent in the beginning to have that support system?
So yes, yes, I would say yes. It's a scary feeling being a teenage mom first and foremost, and not having a support system. Especially like biological. Anyone that grows up in the foster care, well, and I'm in touch with some friends now from back then. We all keep longing for the same thing: your family. Like it's family, family, family. It doesn't matter. Even if we meet new people and they become like family, they're not really our family. We want to know who we look like, where we come from. We have health questions and things of the nature. But what I did learn at an early age is that I have a gift of like connection. Like I've always connected with a lot of people. And I mean, like, I could talk to you today, and then 25 years later from now, we will somehow reconnect and it'll pick up like nothing never happened. Very resourceful. So I really enjoyed them. They provided the Pampers, the diapers, the formulas, everything that you needed in-house childcare. All we had to do was take that time that we had before we graduated high school and aged out of the system and utilize it better. So that's what I did. I took advantage of it. I mean, if they were buying me Pampers, wipes, formula, clothes, toys, all that stuff for the babies, housing me, I didn't really have to do anything but work and save my money. They was even giving me clothes, like clothes vouchers and stuff. So I
I
just,
love that.
yes, I love them. Shout out to them. And I saved everything, everything. And then I would give the money to one of the director and it's like, hey, listen, just put this in a safe. I have no idea, no experience of what to do with money. Take it and, save it, save. And I was able to leave, with a decent money. I'm not saying that my time after that was easy because it wasn't. I definitely struggled a lot with trying to get on my feet and figure things out. A lot of things, you don't know, like finances, like no one teaches you that. Like I didn't have anyone
No
teach me how to
one,
manage
even
finance.
in like high school, like no one teaches financial literacy. That we don't have home tech or home ec anymore. We don't have like any of those type of the programs, even for kept children, right? And it's rare that even kept children are taught, adequate financial literacy. And you apply that to going through trauma, the foster care system, being a young teenage mom. Like, when were you supposed to learn that? But it was so great. It's so great to hear that you had the institution. Like,
Yeah.
not the institution. What is it? What's
Intuition.
intuition? Yes, I said you were in an institution with the intuition.
Yeah.
Right? That helped you. And it's like, and it also like, shout out to them because I don't think I would have been in a place that I would trust with my money, even like without it going missing or them quitting randomly and all your money going missing, right? So like shout out to them for really being there for
I
you.
mean, they were like three strong women. Like I adore them. One was director, one was the nurse. We had an in-house nurse, and then one was the social worker. All three of them brought something to the table. They're actually in my book. Again, I shout out to them. I love them. I was very, saddened that they were unable to keep the doors open. But we're talking about, what, 14, 15 years ago. In my mind, I'm still kind of young and I'm still there, but time continues to go on. And the need to have a teenage pregnancy support wasn't like that. So
You mentioned
it,
your book. Is this the new memoir that you're coming
yes,
out with, or
yes,
your
yes.
your children's book?
No, everything I'm sharing with you now is in my book that's coming out. Though the children's book is just like like introduction to like navigating foster care and dealing with multicultural backgrounds.
Okay.
So
And
because
we'll let you share that. We'll let you share that at the end of the show, so y'all get the name of it, and then we'll also do the video of it so we can see it. I'm
yes,
super excited. I love that you wrote a book for children about foster care and like how to introduce foster
yes,
care.
yes,
I work simultaneously on my memoir and also a children's book about how to teach foster parents and adoptive parents how to share stories. So the book is called "This Isn't Your Story to Share," and it kind of like teaches the foster parents and the kids that like, hey, your experience is your experience, and it's not their story to share and toss in the air and tell everybody and hold up like a prize. It's like your story.
yes. I experienced that too. Like,
They
yeah,
just they be like, yeah, my
like,
foster child, like, hey.
yes, yes. Oh my goodness, the feeling of not belonging was so
Mm.
bad,
Let's
and
talk
then
about that a little bit, like the feeling of not belonging. Did that did that harm you? Do you feel like as a teenager, like where did that feeling come from? Because it sounded like honestly, with Guyanese, I've heard let's say Guyanese, Pakistan, maybe Indian, black. Like I don't even know who you are, so there's no way you knew who you were.
I literally found out this year. But to talk about, like, I literally struggled all my life because I'm very tall, like I'm 5'10", and I'm like a walking giant, amongst the people that I was around. Not having culture, having guidance, having family, or anyone that I could relate to that looked like me was so hard, because my mother is African American. It was like, you have to be black. That and please don't cancel me.
So how do you feel? Okay, because I was going to ask you, because especially on TikTok, there's this whole movement that if your mother's black, you're black. No ifs, ands, or buts.
Uh, No, I'm gonna be honest with you. You identify as you identify, but please don't you ever forget where you came from. And so, I've always identified as African American slash Asian because I figured I was somewhere in the Asian community. Not to find Now I found out that I'm more Asian than I am African American. I'm only 11% per the DNA. And then I'm like, what? So it's a lot, but I never was really accepted in and I always say my community because that's all I've known. I just grew up, I'm from New York. I'm from the streets. I'm not always, I wasn't always poised and nice as I am now. I was a hood booger. I was a little hood
Not
booger.
a
And
hood booger.
yeah, you couldn't tell me that I wasn't. My mom is African American. We're fighting in the streets. I'm from New York. Now they're like, yeah, no, you're not black. And I'm like, what? Like it's like, how can I not be black? I was never really identified as black. When people would look at me, they would always say I was something else. I mean, I felt like I had to prove that, like, no, I am black. There were times that they wanted to see ID from me and my mother and I, because my mother is very dark skinned
Mm.
and I'm not. And then all the siblings are, somewhere in her complexion, and then I'm not. I know the camera can't tell, but I'm
Did
like,
your mother ever tell you that like the man that she hooked up with was
no,
Pakistani?
no, no, mm-mm. And we're gonna get there in a second. I'm gonna get there in a second. I'm gonna get there in a second. Mm-mm. And mm-mm. So to go back to the belonging part, my mother always was like, "You're a black girl with good hair. That's it." And then
Um,
I was like, I think that's an insult to anyone, because what is a black girl with good hair? You tell me what that is. I've seen a lot of beautiful women of all colors with beautiful hair. So I don't understand how you can tell someone that they're a black girl with good hair. I don't understand what that meant. And then, but if someone's telling you you're a black girl with good hair, then that's just what you are, a black girl with good hair. So I didn't understand my eating habits. I didn't eat the traditional um foods that was put in front of me. I've always was like a spice girl. Like, I love spice, spice, spice. And the people that I was around, like my biological mom or the foster families or anybody's like, no, I can't take this heat. I'm talking about I can sit with the best of them when it comes to the heat. So I was like, something's really wrong, like, but what can I do? If someone's telling you you're this, someone's telling you this is your ethnicity, and that's just what it is. So getting the confirmation that I got was like a punch in the face, and also like yes, I figured I was something more than just a Black girl with good hair, but at the same time, it was just like now it's another journey ahead of me because again, I'm multiracial, so I will never belong to just one specific culture.
I totally understand that. My husband and I did a DNA test last year, and it's kind of funny because your experience is kind of similar to his. He didn't know who his father was his whole life. He's a Black man, but he grew up thinking he was Greek.
My goodness.
But like he's like a little bit lighter than my complexion.
I mean,
We were in college. Tell me why this man is tanning, like with a tanning oil.
so you can get some more color.
So he can get some talk about some. Oh, I'm Korean. I'm olive skinned. I'm like, you are a Black man. What are you talking about? Some olives. So then we do the DNA. Zero Greek. Like, no Middle Eastern, no Native. Like he has like 1% Native, but like so Black. We Black. Now it was so funny though. Our DNAs are very similar, and when we look back at our ancestors actually came around. It's kind of creepy. Came from Africa and like Ghana around the same time on the slave ships around like the 1500s, and then his family was mainly in South Carolina, and mine was in Louisiana. So it's kind of like
all right.
Our DNA is almost exactly alike. I happen to have like 26% Caucasian, which we know we can. That's going to go from what happened in slavery. I told people, I was like, so does that make me multicultural? And it's like, no. Because for me, and I struggle because I grew up with white folks. I got adopted at 8 years old. You may not know that. I grew up with my white parents, and I struggled with my identity because I knew I was Black because I grew up with my Black family up until I was 8. I went through a bunch of different foster homes, but when you have a family that says we chose you and you need to assimilate and you need to be like us, and when I tell you like I was a little boy who was adopted from the inner city of Detroit, I did not sound like this. How you just said like I did not sound like this. I was too a hood booger before I was adopted, but that was literally beat out of me. That was prayed out of me.
Yeah.
I had to kneel on rice. I don't know if you've ever kneeled on rice. The
Oh,
thing,
I got worse than rice.
What you have to kneel on?
I didn't have to kneel anything. I got punched in my mouth. I got hit with frying.
Yeah, that definitely happened. But here's the thing: the kneeling on rice is actually very sinister because it's like a slow burn. It's like it doesn't really hurt you. And the thing about my adoptive parents was they knew that I had already come from abusive foster homes and abusive biological homes. So you can literally punch me in my face and I'd be like, okay,
I'm used to it.
like, okay, and I'm gonna hit you back,
Right.
So they would do more like psychological warfare, right? Like take everything out of your room, turn off the electricity in your room, make you sleep outside, have you kneel on rice, rebirthing therapy. I don't know if you ever know about rebirthing therapy, but it's like when they wrap you up in blankets and then they like smother you and they're like, you're real, I love you. And they do this for weeks and weeks and weeks. And then they break you. And then after they break you, you're supposed to be born. Like they unwrap you.
And you're supposed
to be born. And then you do skin to skin. And in my therapy, they made me suck my mama's titties at 9 years old. So it's psychological. You thought you was coming in here with all the trauma. No, girl. This is Trauma Central over here. This is Trauma Central Station. So when you were telling me about this identity issue, I totally understand it because all my identity was just taken out of me. And it's almost, I talked to Tara about it in Tara's episode, the last episode. I don't know if it's almost worse to not know who you are than find out later, or to know who you are and have it taken from you and then have to refind it.
I'm so like, no one understands what I'm going through, right? I can't talk to anybody about this. And like to hear you say that, like not knowing what's worse or like feeling like you have something taken from you is like the best way to explain it. Because I'm going through this by myself because honestly, I have to still be a mom. I still have to be, a boss where I work at. I still have to, move on. And then I have some people like, oh, get over it. these things happen. Oh my God, people find out all the time. And then you're like, but hold on, you don't understand exactly what I've been through. Like, I'm not going to share everything on this particular show, what I'm going through. I'm going to save something for my book. But I had a
Absolutely.
horrific upbringing. It was really horrible. And being like, not even joking about like, I thought you might have been Dominican. No, I mean being told that no, this is what you are. You're like, yeah, no, I don't think that. I don't think so. Like my introduction to like even what ethnicity was horrible. Like being told one thing and then looking in the mirror is something different. And
Absolutely.
then having people from your community, well, I've actually lost people like that were cool with my mom, or I had an argument with like a close friend because it's like, oh, you don't want to be black. And I'm like, that's not what I said. I'm saying that there's something else wrong with me. That's what's going on. There's something else that I have to figure out, but I'm more than just that. So then you have to deal with the pressures of people saying, oh, you think you're too good for us or whatever. I'm like, no, I didn't say that neither. I'm just saying that something else is going on inside of me. I feel a certain kind of way. I'm trying to convince my brain with what I look like, and I'm going to find out. Then you get these results, and then they're like, oh, but yeah, but no, that doesn't mean anything. Get over it. And you're like,
Isn't it something as a black person to be told by other black people like, oh, you think you're better than me? Oh, you talk white. Oh, you want to act white. Oh, you got a white job. This what the fuck is a white job?
I've
and
actually
it's
found that with sister that's above me, right above me. Um, that's why we don't speak. She always felt that I was around the white people too much. I'm like, what does that mean? And she was like, she used to call me a high sedity bicth. Because first
not
and
a high
foremost,
sedity bitch. That's crazy. I'm gonna put that in my repertoire though. You a
yeah,
high sedity bitch.
that's what she told me. She's like, oh, you think you're better than everybody because you went to school. I'm like, I have a master's degree in business. I have 2 bachelors, 1 master's.
No.
Yeah, thank you. I hold multiple real estate license. I have things, but that doesn't mean you can't have it. And it was more so I later found out it was like a jealousy thing, and I didn't even understand what that was because this is my sibling. We grew up tough and in the same environment. Why would you be jealous of me, or why would I be jealous of you? Or we got to thug this out together. Whatever is mine is yours because one of us got to make it. But anywho, yeah, just being judged because you want different things that other people may or may not be able to attain or want. So I'm not different from you because I chose to get a master's degree, but there are people that are gazillionaires that haven't even went to school. That doesn't make, me better or them better than myself. It's just something that I chose to do. I chose to pursue a career and I needed said certificate, said degree to obtain it. And that's just what I did. It wasn't that, but that doesn't make me better than you. You could probably outdo me in multiple things. But yeah, so I was told that I love to be around the white people. That was the word. You love to be around the white people. You always want to be in the white man's face. And I was like, what? I was like, but don't they got the don't they got the blueprint of how to make the money? Don't you want to be around?
He said,
you
no, they
know,
got the blueprint. No,
the
they have the white
blueprint.
supremacy, but they do
Yeah,
got that blueprint. It's a lot behind white supremacy. Well, MGD,
yeah,
we're gonna take a quick break. When we come back,
yeah.
I want you to talk more about your experience. I want to hear about what your mom said about how did you even get in this situation, and then also I want you to tell us about what you've been working on, your books. And also and then do your final message that every person does on the podcast. So we'll be right back, y'all. Light Shiners, make sure that you come right back after the break. Welcome back to the show, Light Shiners. Make sure you guys are sharing the show and leaving us a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts and subscribing to us on Spotify. If you have a heart, you should be listening to us on iHeartRadio and leaving a review there as well. And y'all, this ain't free or cheap. I'm telling y'all, I was just talking to my assistant and I was like, funds are running low. We running on fumes. So if you can't share, at least throw us some coins. If you go to carlosdealer.com, www.carlosdealer.com, there is a donation link. You can donate per episode or just to the show in general. Also, make sure that you're checking out all of the things I have going on my website. I think we have our book links there. We also have our events, and we are going to be doing a book tour, a West Coast tour, and starting in March. So we're going to be hitting up Seattle, Portland, LA, Los Angeles. Oh, Los Angeles is, well, actually, no, we might skip Los Angeles after what happened this weekend. RIP. Y'all know them fires are tearing up California. So I don't even know if I will be able to hit LA, but my heart's out to you, LA. But we will definitely be doing Vegas and Phoenix and the Washington and Portland. Also, make sure you are keeping up with us on all of our social medias. I don't know what's going to happen to TikTok, y'all. I know that's one of my largest platforms. I'm trying to transfer everyone to YouTube or Instagram. So this is why we're starting the lives here on YouTube. This is also why we'll be able to get these video versions on Instagram. I'm going to start posting the video versions of the clips on Instagram. So if I don't see y'all after 10 days, I think it's the 19th. So it's in 10 days. Thank y'all for being there. I appreciate it. We had a good run. If they somehow save it, I'll see y'all there. But without further ado, I want to get back to MGD's story. MGD, I know you said you wanted to save it for later. Explain to Mom. How did she
Hey,
not know she was fucking a Pakistani? Because I just feel like that's very obvious.
so long story short, I had an on and off relationship with her. I wasn't really connected with her after, I got older. So after the DNA results came in, I reached out to her and let her know what was going on because I had a conversation with the sister that I matched with. I ended up going to Brooklyn to take another DNA test to confirm, and it confirmed, that we were related. And she sent me all these photos of my biological father. And again, that's a whole nother story because it's not sinking in my head because this man is 100% Pakistani, and it's like a whole culture. Like anyway, so he's Pakistani. I send the picture to my biological mom, and it's like, hey, what's going on? And she was like, what do you mean? I'm like, who's that? And she says, I don't know who that is. I'm like, you gotta know who that is. So I told her, I said, the results came back that I'm not so-and-so's, daughter. Like, this is not my dad. This guy is. Oh, what's going on? And she said, why would I sleep with an Indian man? I said, hold on, he's Pakistani. I heard there's a difference. There's a difference now. So I said, yeah, no. Like, I'm like, Mom, like, what's going on? And she denied it. So then I thought that maybe this cousin and these results and everything was possibly a mix up because I was like, this can't be happening to me, like, and yeah, like knowing her and all of the previous partners she's had, and we all have different dads, so it's like, I wouldn't see her crossing all the way over like that. Maybe a mixed, individual, but not like a whole legit Pakistani. So I was like super confused. Then the father that was on my birth certificate came up to try to help me sort this out, and I said, you know what? Yeah, let's go confront her. So we went to her house. Went to New York, right there with my crew, which is my kids and the father that's on my birth certificate. And I confronted her right there. I said, "You owe this man an apology. Like he's not my dad. That's a different story in a nutshell." She eventually apologized and then said that she was on drugs. Mind you, I want to give you a backstory real quick. She was actually married to the man that's on my birth certificate. Boom! They were husband and wife. Boom! So there's a whole affair going on. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, you're muted.
Like the sound effects are taking me out. Sorry.
I'm sorry. Boom!
She said, boom.
Yeah. What's going on? So I'm over here like trying to, so anyway, she was married to the man that was on my birth certificate. I say dad number one. She's married to dad number one. And he's actually the father of the sister before me. So that's her father. So they end up dad number one and my mom end up getting a divorce like when I was like maybe 2 or 3 years old for whatever their reasons were. But I was conceived. So my mother, and while I was there, and I was like, listen, you know what's going on. You always knew what was going on. You knew I looked different from the rest of the siblings. You knew. So she ended up saying that when she said, I don't know what so-and-so made me do, talking about dad number one, to do this, but I was on drugs and that's why she keeps saying she was on drugs, which
I'm
wasn't.
so tired of that. That's what my husband's mom said. I was on drugs. I don't
No, you know what it is? They try to gain a sympathy vote.
know. We found out his dad like 33 years later. This man's a spitting image. His father remembers her. His father was like, oh yeah, that used to, like I was cheating on my wife with her. I went to her house. I remember her mom. I remember her being pregnant. She didn't tell to this day, and this is 3 years ago almost, we found out who he was. And we spend holidays with them now and stuff. His mother, Christopher's mother, still will not say that she slept with that man. Like, she still will be like, well, if the DNA says that, I was on a lot of drugs, and what do you want me to do about it? And then she curses at him. She curses like,
So
what do you want me to do about it? How about you have him go raise you? It's like, girl, calm down. I'm just trying to figure out who raised him,
yeah,
or who's the father.
yeah, that's the experiences that I have now. But just to kind of like wrap it up, yeah, she definitely acted like that. It was like, I would never. And I'm like, yeah, but the DNA doesn't lie. And here I am, this Sasquatch, okay, because everybody else is short, 5'2", 5'3", 5'4", and I'm over here looking like Jolly Green the Giant. Something's different, even the father, even dad number one, the husband, and the ex-husband, and my biological mom, and all my siblings are shorter than me, and I'm out here looking like brawny. So I was like, I'm
brawny.
So I'm really like, I'm huge, and then my children are like 6'3", and they're only 14, and they're big kids. So something's wrong. Anyway, she said, this is what she said. She said that she, was on drugs, again, the whole drug situation, and that she was dealing with this Pakistani man. She said that she went to his house one day, saw that there was other women at his house. They looked at her funny, and she said she felt like that she thought that was his wife, and so she ended up like leaving and did not know that she was pregnant. And I'm just looking at her like, you still gonna keep lying, right? You gonna still keep lying? Because when I spoke to the sister, oh my goodness, I don't even know if I should say all this, but when I spoke to the sister, she told me a similar story that she overheard when she got older between my biological father and the first wife, was that a black woman used to come to the house to try to take him from her. And the black woman, when she's like, they would give her dirty looks like, why are you talking to a black woman? And I'm like, oh, so hearing that story and then hearing what my mother said, it kind of connected. So I was like, so that's the black woman that they're talking about. But yeah, so she said that she didn't know that she was pregnant with me. And then when I was born, that she told dad number one that I probably wasn't his because I was too pretty. And I was like, lady, just be quiet. So, like, it was I don't believe nothing she's telling me. So she said she doesn't know him. She said she was on drugs. And I'm like, okay, my biological father's 6'6", by the way. So he's a big Pakistani. Also, there explains my height, explains my children's height. It's a whole bunch of stuff. The issue that I'm having now is that I haven't been able to meet him. He knows I exist, apparently, from the siblings. I am actually number 2 of 15 children that he has. So he has 8 with one wife and 6 with another wife. I actually met a few of the siblings. It was bad experiences with them because they, I feel like there's some racism going on with, that type of culture. I have a lot to learn. I'm like, listen, I don't really care what you guys got going on. I just want to meet him so I can see what's going on. Like, just to look at somebody that looks like me, because apparently I look identical to him. He actually looks identical to one of my children. I didn't even have to take a test. Like, he looks like my kid is him, like a reborn of him. It was great to see that I look like someone else, that my children look like someone else. Like, I have so many questions. I have a whole culture and a background that I would like to tap into, and to kind of like, they don't want to have anything to do with me. It's crazy. I've been called born from sin, and I've been called the love child because apparently he was married to his first wife. So he's cheating, mom's cheating,
everybody cheating.
I'm the fair baby. And then, not trying to recognize me or acknowledge me because I was born, like, first of all, I'm born from a black woman. I'm also not from the culture, like, we're having a child outside their marriage is, it's a whole big thing. It's a whole scandal. And it's just like, it's too much. So I'm dealing with that. So I'm like, did I really want to know? And at the same time, I'm like, oh no, but I don't care about your culture or your background or what you got going on. How dare you act like I don't exist? So that's where I'm at now. I'm going to, I don't care who gets hurt behind this, because, everyone's like, he's a king and we can't do this in his image. Oh my goodness, his image. And I'm just like, what? Who cares about his image? He has a whole child out here. I know I'm 32 now, but I would love to meet him. I don't care what he did. I just want to, see what he looks like. So that's a fight that I got up ahead of me. He's hiding, but he's a very, 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 very important person. So that's another thing. It's like a whole bunch going on.
Well, I can't wait until I read it because I like it. Sounds messy.
Mhm.
Sounds messy. Let's let the people know about your projects that you have going on and what you've already produced. I'm really excited to see this.
Yes. So what I've already produced, I have 2 children's books that I self-published on Amazon. The first one is called Two Cultures, One Heart. They're on Amazon. It's about a multicultural, person. It's me. It's me. It's basically everything that I'm going through as a way to explain it in a young voice. So like being biracial or trying to figure out which one to accept, and then basically learning how to embrace both of them. And then the other
Love
book that
that.
I have is called My New Beginning. So it's an introductory to young kids and foster care and how you go through it. You still have chores. You still have to the same rules apply at your house. And just trying to figure out where do you belong. And it's basically everything that I went through again. So it's about me. Just
Love it. And I love the artwork on those. Let me
thank
see
you.
the back. Let me see the backs of them.
So this is the back of it. This is
Okay.
My New Beginning, and
I
this
love it.
I did everything myself too. So I did the illustration.
Okay, come on, multifaceted the queen.
Thank you. So yeah,
Love it.
and then my new book that
And
I
they can get that on Amazon, right? We can
yes,
get those on
on Amazon.
Amazon.
Yeah, they get on Amazon. So my new book I have is called, I'll tell you the title. It's called A Letter to My Younger Self and A Journey to Healing. So slash A Journey to Healing. It's basically me talking to my younger self, explaining to my younger self like what has happened. Because I don't know if this happened for you, but when you go through trauma, you're kind of stuck. Like you're stuck in the time that is happening. And I found that while writing this book and explaining to myself, I actually started remembering things that I blocked out due to trauma.
Yep.
And, it's very therapeutic. And all I want to really do is reach down and hug my younger self because dang, girl, you a warrior. Like you've been through a lot. And I know you guys can't really hear like what I've been through because I'm trying to keep it on the
The
rap.
low. Because
Yeah.
y'all, you did the same thing that I did, right? So I wrote my first book and then I started talking about my
Yes.
story,
Yes.
right? So I wrote it. So like now I freely talk about it because like you can read it if you want. If you
Yeah.
want the deep,
Yeah.
it's in there.
Yeah.
And now, but then even for my adoption, it was everyone's like, so we want to know what happened with your adoption. I was like, I'm not saying anything. I'll give you like little experiences here and there. But book 2 coming out January 2025,
Yeah.
you'll be able to get all the nitty gritty there. So are you say you're actively looking for a
Literary
publisher,
agent.
right?
Yes.
A literary agent?
Yes, so
Hey y'all, we have any literary agents? I know we have I have over 100,000 people that listen to this podcast. So she's looking for a literary agent.
Yeah.
She's trying to do it big, y'all.
Yeah, because it's really important. And I feel like because of what I've experienced and overcame and learned and grew from,
Mhm.
that it's important that I have the right people handle this story because I feel like it could be important to other people. Um, and I'm sure everyone thinks that, like we all been through something like that. But I mean, like, what I've been through is like a lot. I really feel like I can help the youth. I find myself always trying to talk to younger people, especially being a single mom. I'm going through all of this while still parenting.
That's
And
amazing.
my kids don't want to hear, Mom, you're sad because they live a certain lifestyle, because that I provided for them. So I can't be out here. I cry in the shower. You got to cry and get back up and put your suit on, and then they're like, oh, you're too old to be feeling this way. And you're like, my body could be 32, but my heart is still, my heart was just broken. I just found that I wasn't who I thought I was, so it's very emotional, and you learn to not tell anybody. You gotta be sacred with your story because people are judging you, and then you're just looking at them like you would never survive a second in my shoes. And it's always someone who hasn't been through the things that you've been through that have all these things to say.
All the opinions.
Yeah.
All the opinions.
Yeah.
Well, MJD, thank you so much for joining us here on the Wards of the State podcast. I really appreciate you sharing. And I can't wait to read your memoir because even from what you shared so far, it is very, very intriguing. I want the juice.
Yeah.
I want to know what happened. So I cannot wait into your memoir. I do ask all of my guests this question before we wrap up. Where's one piece of advice that you would give a child who came up in a similar experience as you? What's one piece of advice you would give them?
That this is not forever. What you're going through is not going to be forever, and that you must always continue to fight. Do not stop, fighting, figuring out who you are. Love on yourself. Be patient with yourself. and enjoy the ride of evolution. Like, I love who I am today. Even though I went through all the things that I've been through, I love who I am today because I found me. You know, just it's not forever what you're going through, and just keep on fighting.
I love that. That reminds me of the song from Wicked.
I didn't even think of that.
I think that's literally part of the line. Like, sure, like if you can find me, look inside.
Oh, yeah, don't give up. Keep going.
Keep going. Everyone deserves to fly. Everyone deserves to fly, especially you. And everyone deserves to shine light. And I appreciate you coming up, MGD, shining your light on this platform. I cannot wait to see what you do and see how you help other children in the foster care system. And without further ado, y'all, like I say every week, light shiners, always shine your light, because you never know who you might guide, who you might inspire, who you might take out of a dark tunnel just by your little light that you're shining. Keep shining. Until next week, guys, always shine your light, and we'll talk to you guys next week.